Is Trump's personality stupid? Quite possible, depending on who you ask. Is it hurting him in the polls? Definitely, maybe. But should you make personality your deciding factor for who to vote for the highest office in the land? Today we will find out. Hey guys, I'm Daniel Myers, and this is Freedomists, and on this channel we look at data, history, and philosophy to try to decipher what's going on today through maybe a little deeper lens and find the ideas that work together. So if you are interested in that and want to join this community, we'd love to have you. Please subscribe and join our community.
Can I have a smile like that?
Trump's personality has been a huge talking point in the media, like almost the only talking point. And according to Pew Research, during the first year of presidency, 69% of the media coverage of President Trump revolved around his personality, as opposed to his policies. But is it actually healthy to focus on Trump's personality? Is his personality a substantial issue that we should focus on, or is it just a little bit superficial, something we shouldn't worry about? Or actually, let's make this a little more relevant to you and me. Should we make personality something that we base our vote on? Well, before we answer that, it may be helpful to make some observations about humans in general. When it comes to making a selection from a variety of options, we're generally biased toward things that are more pleasing to experience or look at. Most people don't decide which car they want solely on which one has the best engine. Maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of people are more easily swayed by the aesthetics and maybe a few bells and whistles. Obviously, making decisions based on superficial criteria isn't really the healthiest thing in the long run. When you're stranded on the freeway, those nice curves on your car don't really seem like such an important factor anymore. Obviously, the bigger the decision, the more dangerous using superficial criteria becomes. So when it comes to electing a politician, we're getting into pretty big territory. The decisions they make have real consequences, and we have to live out those consequences. So it's pretty big stuff. And it's actually surprising how influential superficial factors are when it comes to electing our leaders. For instance, data suggests that people use physical attractiveness as a predictor of character. So we tend to assume the better looking people are is also just like the better they are.
Well, I agree with that.
This phenomenon is known as the halo effect and was coined first in 1920 by a dude who was a psychologist, and his name was Edward Thorndike. And unfortunately, politics is not immune from this phenomenon. According to a 2019 study from American Politics Research, political candidates that were good-looking tended to do better when the 2016 election results rolled in. Wouldn't you know? Vote for me. That's why Pedro won. He's just so handsome.
This guy's got cow chaps for a jacket.
Obviously, making a political decision based on looks is blatantly superficial and easy to frown upon. But it's not just looks that bias people toward or away from a particular candidate. In fact, the halo effect indicates any one negatively perceived trait also has a negative effect on observers' perceptions of other unrelated traits. If you dislike one thing about a person, you are more likely to dislike everything about that person. People are very biased. It happens to me. Never mind, I'm not gonna tell you about that. So in the case of Trump, if you dislike his personality, the halo effect suggests you're more likely to dislike everything about him. Not because of any substantive evidence or reason, but simply because of your own bias toward his personality. But is this really that big of a deal? I mean, is personality actually a superficial factor, or is it something that we should be heavily considering? It's obviously harder to dismiss than looks because, it has more to do with the character of the person. And when it comes to choosing a spouse or a friend, personality is a huge fundamental factor. But let's think about it in the context of a presidency. What is the actual purpose or function of a president? Does anybody ever ask that? All right, so let's look at the actual oath that presidents take. It's really cool. Quote, "I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States," unquote. This is very interesting. It has a lot to do with defending the Constitution. That is something that you don't really hear about very much. While there are many definitions you could give for a president, I think it's safe to say from a very big picture view The role of a president is to ensure the Constitution is followed and make high-level decisions to bring about the greatest good for the country within the boundaries of the Constitution. So the success of a president really rises and falls on their loyalty to the Constitution, the quality of their ideas, and their ability to make really big decisions under a lot of pressure. And it's these decisions that will affect millions and millions of lives. So let's revisit the question now with that in mind. Is personality actually fundamental to a president being able to fulfill his or her position successfully? Is it possible that someone with a terrible personality could care a lot about protecting the Constitution, have quality ideas, and be a good decision maker? I think so. No. I think that's reasonable to say.
No.
Now, obviously, having a good personality has many uses and is a wonderful thing. I think we should all desire to have a president with good character and someone who sets a good example and a healthy tone for the country. Something that maybe has been a little lacking. All right. The goal of this video is not to excuse stupidity or to make an argument that good character or personality isn't important. Obviously, there are many nuances we could cover if this were a longer video. But the point is, and the real takeaway here is, we have to keep in mind the president is not a figurehead to sit there and look pretty and make everybody feel good. The president is actually making really, really big decisions that affect our lives in a very real way, and those that we love as well. And so when it comes down to it, the decisions they're making and their ability to respect the Constitution and make good decisions under lots of pressure that are going to affect us is a lot more important, a lot more important than how we feel about their personality. So let's set our biases aside and vote on something more substantial than personality alone. Thank you for watching, and make sure to check out our other videos. I think you're gonna love this community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Until next time, stop yelling and start thinking. How is it that nobody's made a car with multiple horns? It's like only having one emoji on your phone.
Yes.
You could be very happy, but you have to press the angry one. Why not just a speaker where you can just say whatever you want? This is not appropriate.